the pain you caused, and the sleepless nights, and the hurt you brought. I forgive for what you did to me, cause I know deep inside you had no sympathy. So I forgive, and I do it for me, cause I knew I'd never get an apology. So I forgive. Life may move fast, or it may move slow. I met a silly man who said he'd make it slow. We look up out towards space, or even at the sky. One that pass away, but never look inside. Breathe in, breathe out. Life is a maze, but we'll figure this out. I mean, human beings, I ain't got no doubt.
Hey, what's good, everybody? I know I'm making this video very informal. Hope you guys are all well. Hope you had a good Halloween, if you celebrate that. Hopefully, Dia de los Muertos, you were able to reconnect with your loved ones. Yeah, I haven't been posting anything for a while, and so I just wanted to make this video. This year is what you call like a 7-year, right? In numerology or whatever, right? It's 2023, 2, 2, 4, and then plus the 3 is 7. So in the beginning of this year, I got, in this whole creative kind of thing. Not so much, but I was pushed and pushed until I had to make that 216 book, right? So that was a whole guided thing from the universe. Then, I wrote another book and then another one. And then it felt like done. And then I had done the audiobook too. So I took it like, okay, I did those 4 projects. And then even the translation, but I don't know, I didn't really count that, right? So something told me, like, what I'm getting at is like the whole 7 year. I was like, something makes me feel like I'm supposed to do these 7 projects, right? For this whole 7-year thing. So I even thought like, maybe the books, it was just the 3 books. Maybe the audiobook doesn't count. Maybe the translation for sure doesn't count. But at least, something was still pushing me. Anyways, I got into this whole thing that when it happened, I felt like it was in the top 10 of the worst things that had happened to me. Some situation with a person. And in case they're watching this, because they made it clear that they would watch all my stuff. Like, I'm not gonna say their name or nothing. I forgave what they did. Just because of spiritual reasons. But even that, right after, I guess I was able to channel all of that. And then I came out with 2 EPs, right? 2 little, an EP is an album, but like a smaller album, right? I think an album is considered like, or it used to be like 12 songs and up. And so these ones just had 5 each, which is funny because after I thought that's so funny that I chose 5 and 5 because I have 55 episodes on the podcast. And then it was funny, like we had like a family dinner, and where I went, it was like the address was 505. So I kept seeing 5555. So there was a lot of significance in that, right? And then somewhere else I went, there was again like the 55, right? And so anyways, these EPs, the first one, that's how I was, right? It all started with just one song. I was like, it was called My Confessions, right? And it was like this person brought back everything. It was like the straw that broke the camel's back. And I realized, like, all my life, right? Like, even people that had wronged me, they would always come back and be like, oh, that's why I like you, because you don't hold the grudge. You like, and I was, the most carefree spirit. Like, I don't really care. I'm not perfect, so I wouldn't really judge people because I don't know, there was just something about me, right? Like sometimes I'll blame the Jesus influence, right? Because early on I took to Jesus, and obviously not the religion. I'm never gonna be in favor of the religions, right? Just in case anyone ever gets that confused. The religions have nothing to do with the people that I talk about, right? So anyways, like I was always like, yeah, Jesus carried it. To me, that was like a kind of a thug life thing, right? Like Jesus, right? Like because even that, people always forget that there's this story that Jesus started flipping over tables, and I was like, oh wow. Like I like the I related to him more. I was like, because I was like, hell yeah, that's something I would probably do. Like start flipping over tables, and the way they said he was whipping people and stuff. So people forget that about Jesus, right? To me, Jesus was more like this the nicest person in the world, just like I was trying to be throughout my life. But once people push you and push you and push you, there's that thing. So when people would look at me like, oh, Like if I had a bad temper, I didn't take it like, I don't care. It's not a bad temper. It's just that people don't see how much they've already pushed you to get to that place. You know what I mean? That's the thing. And that makes them feel better, right? Obviously, people, and that's what had happened to me with this person I was dealing with, right? They were trying to say like, oh, like I want you to be accountable. I was like, what? Like, you know, it was like some delusional stuff, right? They wanted to shift all the blame to me when it was clearly, and I'll share that story later, not on this video, because I'm kind of like, I don't even want to give it that importance, right? Because whatever this person, what they did do was evil, right? But see, the universe will always make it good, and they showed me that right after, right? Because it was like some things happened even after, which doesn't even matter to me, right? Like even after, right? I got in a little car crash, and then I literally crashed into a sheriff, and then he just let me go, right? It was like, yeah, it's fine, you know, it happens, and I was just like, are you sure? And like, yeah, and then you know, I was like, all right, and then I shook his hand. I was like, so we're good, and he's like, yeah, we're good, and I was like, cool, you know. So all these little things were happening to me during this course of these eclipses that made me realize, like, you know, I did feel like at first when the things would happen, I'd be like, oh my god, like I'm over this, but then it was like, hey, there was something like a lesson, right? Especially from the universe to me, right? Like we got you, right? It doesn't matter. The whole world doesn't have you. Right. So anyway, let me get back on track. So I released these 2 EPs, right? And it just started with the one song. I was just venting because that's what it's called, like my confessions. And I go, and I'm gonna cuss right here real quick. So if you don't want to hear it, but even in this song, I go like, you know, I wore my heart on my sleeve, but this dirty bitch, she betrayed me. These are my confessions. I don't feel like singing right now, so I'm just saying it. So, but that's what I'm saying, like, you know, and it came from a place of like, oh my god, I felt like so betrayed. And it was funny because just recently I found that out, that after I finished those songs are very purging. After the first one was just it's called When We Die, right? But I might as well explain it to you guys. It was such a deep, because it's like when we die to ourselves too. Like I was trying to really just let everything die, like, because I realized, oh, how can you still have all these things that people did to you? Like, I just wanted it to be done. And it's funny, you know, as right now we are in Scorpio season, but even during these eclipses, it entered like this whole stage of like this crazy purging. Oh, and I had made a video so you could see that a couple months ago now, or over a month ago, it all started with this bat. I saw this bat and I made a video. I was like, it's crazy. This bat was flying circles. Or I took my dog for early morning. The sun wasn't even out yet. It was like 5 in the morning. By the time we were finishing, the sun was coming up. And as we're getting close to where my car is, the last little piece of like, you know, the trail, this bat comes and it's just flying circles over me. And I knew, I was like, oh man, like, because the bat, a lot of times it represents the shadow work and all that stuff. So I was like, here we go. I was like, hope it's just gentle. Like, I hope it's a quick lesson. I don't want to deal with nothing. And sure enough, it was like a lesson that flipped my world upside down, right? Because someone came to me in a spiritual sense, but then it was completely the opposite. But they were trying to warn me, right? The spirit world was trying to warn me through the whole process. This spirit jumped in front of me, and they were like, and I was even kind of having this conversation with them, like, you know, wow, I don't know, on my way to meet this person, like pop my tire, do something, like, you know. And it was funny that my tire popped later. So that's why, you know, it's so funny. Man, there's so many stories. That's why I don't want to lose anybody. I just want to like share the story, right? Uh, but anyway, so yeah, the bat came. So I made a video that something was on its way, and sure enough, someone was on their way about to like flip everything upside down, right? Um, but then so it's cool. You know, I get the warning. So it's almost like they're always showing me the story. It's like they put the book in front of me, and they know I'm gonna figure it out. They're like, and I'm like, oh man. And I actually think I had dreamed part of that like years ago. So I was like, finally, there was something that had happened in the dream once that I was always very, and it was involving a person that I had never seen before. So I was like, so it kind of all connected, right? It takes sometimes a few years to connect some of these dreams or visions, but once they do, I get it, right? So anyways, I knew something was coming. It happened, you know, the bat brought in you know, the signs that something was on its way. Sure enough, all that happened, but then it like I knew something. I had a few songs here and there, but I just wasn't like, buckling down. And then they triggered me to do all this, and I love that song so much, that My Confessions, because that's where it's like, when I make these songs, I don't think people realize like how, like, they're coming from this place, right? But even in the verse, even though the chorus is like very like me just saying like feeling this betrayal, um like even the verses I'm talking about, like, oh, I know, like, God has my back, the angels, everybody, like, I already know, they show it to me time and time again. So anyways, it was called When We Die. It's all about that, right? Like the dying, like the real, like, death and rebirth kind of thing, that it's like I always feel like I already did, but it's like, wow, there's still. And I had a vision of someone telling me, you gotta go deep, 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 deep. Like they were emphasizing so much, and I spoke with this person about all that stuff, the person that came into my vision, and they were telling me like, oh, you got to go real deep. So anyways, there was just stuff left over, right? So I did that When We Die, and it was a little lighter. I mean, some of the, you're right, I was inventing as deeply. I even made a song called Hurt People, right? Because I got it like I was just like, why do I gotta take it, right? Like, why do I have to be this person? But I get it. Like, I came here even last night, it was the strangest thing. I literally had a dream that I was telling someone, because I thought that, right? Like, and I kind of felt guilty for not doing it, because I went for a bike ride in the mountains, and there was this homeless man. We just started talking. He's like, oh, he started a conversation with me. So I'm talking to him, you know, and then after, I was even thinking, after, like, I was putting my bike up and everything, and he kept walking after we finished talking, and when he was down there, I was like, man, should I just let him have my bike? And then like right now, see, so like I'm not even working right now because we're on strike, right? And this also it didn't stress me out because I was so busy doing all these projects. We've been on strike for over 100 days, but really, since the writers were on strike, it's been like 7 months of being on strike. And I've been doing little side jobs here and there, but nothing compared to like, I haven't been stressed out at all, because thankfully the pandemic taught me to be very wise in the way I deal with things, right? But what do you call it? Yeah, but it's like I already started applying to, like, I don't even care. Like, it won't even bother me working at regular jobs, because it's not like I'm not even like stressed out about it, right? I could probably work a regular job for the rest of my life and just be okay. You know what I mean? And just be like, hey, screw it. Like, even if I work like at a Walmart, and I'm good, like, because I get to do the things. I've become resourceful in that way, that I could do what I need to do to fulfill my spirit, and I could do these things, and not have that like, oh, my life is a mess kind of thing, right? But I do need to that, right? So anyways, blah blah. So anyways, damn, where was I at? About the job thing. Yeah, shoot, I completely lost my train of thought. It'll come back, I'm sure, or not. But anyways, okay, so I was able to do these projects. Man, I really wish I could rewind this right now to see what I had just said. So anyways, I was finishing these projects, right? And let me see. I was dealing with this person. I did these songs, When We Die, or Death and Rebirth. And then so let me just kind of start over with that. So I don't know, see where I went about I don't know, something about the strike thing, right? The money strike. Um, man, that really sucks. I went off too much into a story. So okay, so I did the one, and then When We Die two, it was like me and my shadow, right? Because that one went darker, right? Because how I said, the person in the vision was like, oh, you gotta go deep. So it went darker. Like, I don't know, it just felt like there were some songs that, I don't know, it felt like not the best vibration for me, but um but I did them. Like, I don't know, I kept asking, you really want me to do them? Like, and it was weird. Like, I still felt like this thing, like, why did you let me do these songs if they're gonna be bugging me? But you know, maybe that was just a test, that they know that even as uncomfortable as I feel. Oh wow, okay, damn. See, I just remember where I strayed off. So I was thinking about this homeless person, like, should I just give him the bike, right? And so last night it was fun. I didn't, because I was like, damn, at least if I was working right now, I know, like, I could give him this and I'll buy another one, right? Screw it. But 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 like I said, since we've been on strike, like I guess I kind of was in my head like, shoot, like, you know, once I get it, like if I run into someone like that, and I'll be like, hey, you know what? Here's the bike, like something like that, right? But even last night in my dream, like someone came into my dream that I know, and they were telling me, I was telling them like, oh, I wanted to give this thing to this homeless person, and they were like, oh, if you would have, you would have been real stupid. Like they told me that shit in the dream, So I was like, wow, like, and even in the dream, I was thinking like, wow, that's cold, like people have no, that's why they don't understand. They just have no, like that, right? Like the compassion, right? And I was like that even when I was little. I remember I wanted to give, we were selling like this Nintendo to a friend, and then all of a sudden, like my family, like my brothers, they wanted me to sell it for more expensive, and I was like, oh, I told my friend, oh, even if I gotta pay for it, like I'll give it to you. And then all my family was like, you're stupid, like what the hell, like don't be. But I was a kid, I was in elementary, but I had that, like I wanted to, so it took me back to that. But just right now, actually, it's reminded me of that, like like that, I don't know, but maybe that, right? All this stuff that I had to purge with these songs, right? Like I did the hurt people. I did the my confessions one. I did this other one that was very spiritual. I really don't want to talk about it because it's freaky. Because I'm actually talking about this whole, almost like a war kind of thing, and then like I don't know, within a couple of days after I wrote that, like all this conflict started in Israel, and I'm actually talking about over there this place called Magog, right? So I was like, man, I mean, this happens so much in songs. It happened with my Serendipity album. Like, I'll be writing about stuff, and I just feel I'm just channeling. Like, it's more just like psychic stuff, right? Like I'm just channeling, and then boom, before you know it, it happens, right? Sometimes within like, just a couple days, a week, or something. So, anyways, that's what that song was about. So, because that's the oddball of the little EP. Like, where did that song come out of? Like the Battle of Magog, right? Like out of all things. The other ones are more personal, and that one's like about this like kind of thing, right? But it's more hip hop, but just the fact that it's the Battle of Magog, like, and then the conflict started like literally within like a day or two after I wrote that song. So it was just weird. And then I don't know, I forgot the other, oh, family, right? There was a song about family, and then some other stuff, right? And then once the Me and My Shadow one, it was about like I forgive them. I have a song called I Forgive Them that I started purging. Like I think I literally, yeah, I just started like crying when I wrote that song, but I didn't understand why, but I understand why. Like it's just a lot of purging, like, oh, and it was funny, right? Like I thought about I know it's going way longer than I planned, but then it was like as I was writing that song, I pictured like in the tarot cards, the person with the 10 of swords, and they're all stabbed in the back. And then I looked it up, and then I realized, I found out it was a Gemini card, right? So the 10 of swords is a Gemini card. So I was like, what the hell? Was that like my destiny to have all these swords stabbed in my back? But then it was like, as I was finishing these EPs, it was almost like if I was taking off all these swords, because I did say some stuff. So it was like I was taking these swords and like throwing them back at people or chopping people's heads off with them. Like I was like, I'm carrying this no more. Thank you, Jesus, for like making me this. But it was more like that, like like Jesus grabbing the whip, like nah, like I ain't carrying these burdens no more. I'm done. I'm done carrying anyone's burdens. You know what I'm saying? Almost like that, like being a stepping stone. But it was just so funny that 10 of swords is a Gemini card, and I like screw you. And all of a sudden, for like I love being a Gemini, but for a split second there, it was like like almost like a Gemini curse kind of thing, right? Because we've seen so many, especially celebrity Geminis, right? Like they always get, not that I'm a celebrity, right? But I'm saying like you can see it, so I'm not making it up. Like Geminis go through some stuff sometimes, right? Like people will take your kindness for weakness, or they like look at the case with Johnny Depp. Like he's been one of the few people that was able to prove, after they had fired him from all these jobs and cost them millions of dollars, it finally was revealed that this woman was lying about stuff, and it doesn't matter that, I mean, it's beautiful that he was redeemed, but just the fact, and we happen to have the same birthday, right? Me and Johnny Depp. But it was like he was redeemed in a way, but I mean he still lost so much. That's what people don't realize. Like, oh yeah, good for Johnny Depp, but look at all the stuff he lost. Like people will never even make that in a lifetime or 2 lifetimes. Like the amount of money he lost just from that. And not just it's not about the money, it's just the headache and all the stuff, like the shame that people put you through. So it's funny, in one of the songs, that's what I'm talking about, right? Like I'll say how people that put me through shame or messed up my, talk my name, because I would hear about that, right? Like people would badmouth talking me to their families, and then they were the ones causing all this stuff, and then come back and try to get me and then take me around their family, and their family hates me. And it's like how much bad, like what were you saying? Like, so I was like, probably always playing the victim, like, oh, he's this or that, which was completely opposite from the truth, right? So anyways, Johnny Depp, we know the story of Tupac, right? He got like nothing, right? It was just like he didn't do nothing of, the reason he was like locked up in prison. So it was like this horrible situation, like with Tupac too. And I mean, Marilyn Monroe was like, she was a Gemini too, and she was just, I think, she was definitely someone that was taken advantage of and mistreated in many ways, right? She was made out to be like she was just this, this kind of I don't know, what the floozy kind of thing, like this and that. But but look at who was, like, I guess, like the presidents or stuff. I mean, because yeah, from the outside looking in, you'd be like, oh, she's just a slut or something. But I don't like. I think they really painted her that way to excuse like what was done. And I think it came out recently, like someone was trying to say that she was murdered, which So at the end of all that, right, of whoever, all these people that were like and she was abused since she was little, right? I'm pretty sure someone told me that recently, because I never seen the movie about her, nothing like that. I read about her because I went to her gravesite and all that, and that's when I was like, oh wow, she was a Gemini. I didn't even realize that and all this stuff. So anyways, whatever. So anyways, the Ten of Swords, right? So after I finished those songs, it was like letting go of everything, and I felt great. And then I realized, like, oh wow, I completed my 7 projects, right? I did the 4 books. And then, and I had done another album. I complete. So that album was beautiful, but I know it was triggered by something as well. When I did that album, the Serendipity one, right? I was triggered by something. I gotta go, but maybe I made a video about talking about what triggered that Serendipity album. I'm sure something triggered it. So yeah. So whatever, I had done the Serendipity album, I completely forgot. Serendipity, that one was more, I was just really happy because I was so excited to be making music again. I was like, I don't know what inspired me, but it's cool. Like, I don't even know what was the first song. I'm trying to remember what was the first song I did with the Serendipity album. I don't even remember, but it's fine, right? I love that album, the Serendipity. I got to work with people again. For this one, I actually reached out to people, these 2 EPs, and like, it didn't work out, right? But with that other one, I actually got to work with people again. So it was a beautiful experience. I love working with people and stuff. It's just that sometimes people don't come through, so it's easier to do it yourself. So anyways, man, I know this is like way long. I guess it is for all the time that I've been gone. So anyways, I did these things. It was like a lot of shadow work. So I had the 3 books, the audio book, and then my Serendipity album, and then the 2, When We Die, part 1, part 2. And then I even released an extra single, and I did the translation. So if you look at it, that's like 9 things I did, but really, like, I look at it more like that, right? Like, I did the 3 books and the audio book, and then the 3, or I don't know, the 3 albums, right? So that's the 7. So I did my 7 projects, right? And then the extra one is the translation, and then the single. I released the single. And so anyways, to sum all that up, after I did the 2 EPs that were more on the, like I said, When We Die part 1, When We Die part 2, Me and My When We Die part 2 literally called Me and My Shadow, and I'm doing all this shadow work, right? Like I said, I purged, I cried, like when I did the I forgive them and everything, and I mentioned things even, I guess, from being younger, like wounds you carry, right? I realized that the 10 of Swords is like the Gemini, and I was just taking off all those swords, boom, 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 there, and I felt so much lighter. Oh my goodness, I felt lighter. Beautiful, beautiful to feel that light after. Like, geez, do we really carry things for that long? Like, oh my God, like, it's crazy. But it's like that. It's like when someone does you dirty, it brings like back all that stuff. It's crazy that you, even me, right? That I'm like how people would say that I was literally like, oh, that's why I like you, because you forget. And I was like, when I would say I forgive someone, I really felt like I forgave them. But it's like, I guess maybe you forgive them, but in a way, they just left all those wounds, right? Since we can't see them, these are internal scars that you're carrying. it's almost like when someone stabs you, it's like they open up that scar, right? Like, oh, I see your scar healed. Let me and make another one, right? So it's like it was like that. And so this time, and this time I cut off this person like that, right? I was like, nah, like I ain't dealing with this, right? And I just wasn't dealing with it, right? Like finally, like no nothing, no entertaining, nothing, no nothing. Like I'm over it. Like I'm over it. Like really, like yeah, I forgave you, but yeah, I didn't even reply after when they called and they text and this. I was just like when I really say like that's it, like so I don't need to be nice anymore, like in that sense, right? Or I heard someone say something about loving people from a distance. So yeah, I'll love you from a distance. I'm good with that. I love you from a distance. I have no hate, no nothing. Like just stay away from me, right? All that stuff, right? So I finished my projects, all the stuff. I relieved that, and then I did a song called "The Girl from My Dreams," which is based on a true story. I mean, I say that in the song, but like for any, the people that might never see this or know me, and they just hear the song, at least I'm telling them on there that song is based on a true story. Um, I could tell you how it, but I would rather you listen to the song, and if anyone's curious, then maybe I can make a whole video about that song later, right? About everything, because there's just so many, I try to do the best to put it in a 4 minute song, this story, and you know, yeah. I actually feel like because when I see last time I was singing it in the shower, right, and I felt like it sounded way better than because on the song it's like you're trying to match it to the guitar notes and everything, and when I was singing it like it just flowed out smoother. Or when I was in the shower and I was like, man, it sounds so good with the acoustics and the reverb and everything. I was like, oh man, it's just I wish maybe I'll re-record it later, but not that it sounds bad. It's just like it actually sounded like because I'm not trying to go to the guitar or nothing. It's just like singing it to the like a bird, right? Like a bird, like just singing to the wind, right? So stuff like that. But I really like the song. It's a great story, and like I said, it's a true story, right? So anyways, okay, all that. What else happened? uh I think that's it. Like I just want to talk about that, right? Like a lot of shadow work. Like I said, I felt oh, even during the eclipses, right? I did get angry. I ended up shouting at a friend, which has been a friend for like 20 years. And I apologized after. I was like, you know what? I shouldn't have shouted at you. So it was a lot of stuff purging, right? I was frustrated with him because I was trying to explain something. And it's always hard because when people take, for example, people that don't believe the spiritual stuff, like you don't have time. Like, how are you going to, it's like when I wrote the book, right? It was like, I mean, I even consolidated. Imagine it's only like 100 and something pages. So stuff that was happening to me over the course of 4 years, but really it's knowledge from like thousands of years. And I was able to consolidate it into a book with 100 something pages. So even now, I would rather just people read the book, the 216 book, because that's an ongoing thing, right? Like, oh man, I should make a whole presentation. It'd probably be like 2 hours long, just talking about the whole 216 thing, right? I mean, I did the audio book, so you could even, and it's about 2 hours and something, just me reading the book. So me showing you all the stuff would be like definitely like 2, 3. But I mean, I could consolidate it 2 hours. But anyways, that's the 216 thing, right? But with this friend, it was like it just frustrated me because it's not his fault, right? Like it wasn't his fault. It was just that when you talk to people, it's almost like you wish they had taken the time to learn certain things, but we're all on a different journey. Like whatever I was learning, that's what I was guided to learn. Um, Other people learn about other stuff. Everyone has knowledge that you don't have. I'm sure I could learn a lot of stuff from him. You know what I mean? Like countless things, just like with this knowledge thing, I don't know. I guess something the eclipses were making me agitated, frustrated, like damn, I don't want I'm tired, I'm tired, like why in your whole life, like why don't you, it's like when culture, right? Culture stuff is very important to me. And I trip out on like 90% of the people I meet that have similar cultures or stuff like that, or are from similar cultures, because obviously culture becomes whatever you immerse yourself in, right? But I guess our roots, right, with the people we come from or stuff like that, like people didn't really take an interest, and I'm just mind blown because the whole know thyself thing, right? Like how did nobody? It's like when I've asked someone, oh, I meet someone and they have an interesting name, and ask them, oh, do you know what your name means? I remember even this one girl once, she was all offended, like, why would I know what my name means? I'm like, what the hell? How do you not? Like, okay, my bad. Like, okay, like they were irritated that I asked them what their name meant and that they were clueless about it, right? Like no, like how do someone not even first just take the time to find out what their name means? Because it's funny, like it kind of like me, right? Like my name Omar, right? Like you know, one thing it means like eloquent speaker. Not that I'm the best eloquent speaker, but it's funny that I do things speaking, right? Like podcast. But even before that, I did music for 20 something years, right? So I use my voice, right? Like I talk, I communicate. So it's funny that Omar has to do with that, right? And it has different meanings in different I think like in the Arabic and then the Hebrew, it's different translations, right? But overall it's someone like the eloquent speaker thing. I thought that was interesting, so I was like, oh, that's so funny that that's what I do, communicate, and that's my name, right? And I don't even have a middle name. It's just like boom boom, like that's that's the name that was given. I didn't need nothing else. um you know what I mean, all that. So anyways, I won't go into all like any more from that. I think, man, I hope that's all I wanted to talk about for now. I know there was other things I'll remember it later. I'm hoping to you know continue with the podcast. If anything, just make videos, right? Because like I said, there's so many things that happen. Oh, spirits. Okay, so let me share this last thing. So after this thing happened with this person, it was such a bad time that it made me open. It's like I had another huge leap with the spiritual, right? It was like, oh my goodness, like, because I was so disturbed by what happened with this person, that I said, and maybe later I'll make a video about it. Uh, and in case they're watching this, like I said, like I'm never gonna say their name, so it's fine. Like unless they come on here like no one's gonna know who you are. So if you expose yourself, that's on you. But I think it's a story worth sharing to show like there's people in the spiritual community that it doesn't matter. They'll still do things that are just like the and maybe she was that like she didn't realize what a horrible thing it was. Like horrible thing that she did. And she is like, because that was even one of the things I was like, you know what, like, and I forgave like instantly. But it was like that's funny as I'm saying that, like my song popped in my head because like it goes like, I forgive for the pain you caused, whatever, like so it's like even like my song popped in my head, I forgive. And I love that. I cuss a lot in it, but I'm gonna carry that song with me like all the time because I forget it. Maybe to remind myself too, like, hey, I forgive. Boom, like there. I wipe my hands clean. I said it. It's out into the universe. I forgive them, all of them, everybody, and I'm good moving forward, right? So, anyways, okay, so all that stuff that they did, and because of that, I was like, I told the spirit world, like, okay, you know what? You did give me a warning and everything, so now I'm gonna be open, right? I've experienced all the clair everything, right? Clairaudient, clair sentient, clair the smelling thing, clair everything. I've experienced the psychic stuff and everything, and I've blocked all of it. So now I was like, you know what? I'm open to it now because there, I should have listened, but since I didn't, maybe next time, like I'm gonna, or maybe that was their way of showing me, nah, we're gonna give you now. It's the game, the rules of the game has changed. Like we up the stakes. So now even the little warnings we give you, you got to take heed. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, fine. So now it's like, but for me, I was like, I'm gonna be as open now as you need to communicate with me, communicate with me. And the animals that came through recently, like times 100, right? The animals have even on the day of this last eclipse, I went up to the mountains and I was on the bike, and then as I was going through this path where there's nothing there, it was like it was like this much shadow, like a little thing of shadow, and then there was a rattlesnake, right, all stretched out right there, just comfortable in the little shadow. And I talked to it real quick, and then I was on my way. But and I thanked it because obviously the rattlesnake has to do with healing. So it was like I was coming out of this tunnel, right? I went in through a tunnel with the first eclipse, and then I went through the whole thing, and then I was coming out the tunnel. And on the day of that eclipse, I think I was there as the eclipse was. Obviously, we couldn't see it from here, but it was happening. And here's this rattlesnake, right, which is the epitome of the healing and death and rebirth and all that. So I was like, oh wow. And I think I don't know if in the beginning of the first one, I had ran into a scorpion, to a dead scorpion nonetheless. So like, scorpions mean death and rebirth too. And there was this little like wasp or bee that was like you know, it was on it, right? Like it was eating it or something. I made a little video and I put all the wasp wings. So it was interesting, right? Like that symbolism. And that was, I think, I don't know if it was before the first eclipse or during or something. And then after by the second one, like you got the rattlesnake and then a ton of egrets, right? Like the egrets, the hawks were swooping in for me. So it was all this stuff like boom, 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 boom. All this symbolism. Then I started seeing things, this higher being. I saw this higher being. That was mind blowing, right? Then I started seeing things like simultaneously, right? This world and the other world. So there was just all these things that I became open because of the situation that happened. I was just fed up. Like, you know what? I give in. I'm tired. Like I give in because like I don't know. I'm just like I see now that they're gonna eat. I was over here living my own world. They're gonna come to me anyways. Like the people that want to do the negative energy, like they're gonna find me anyway somehow, some way. So I might as well just that's it. Like, all right, let me pick up my weapons and okay. I guess, if it's for the rest of my life, like in a constant state of warfare, so be it, right? It's spiritual warfare, obviously, but hey, like sometimes I guess it could translate to the physical, you know what I mean? I'm sure people that do these evil things, like, that's why it's crazy. Like, sometimes I feel bad when I see like people that do these these horrific things and they start going on a rampage. I wonder like what was like if right something was whispering in their ears or stuff like that, right? Oh, okay, damn, I keep so even that, right? During one of these eclipses, it was funny, and then I'll really end it after this. So I had one of those, like how people say like the sleep paralysis, right? But when I was younger and I would have it like that, I would call out to Jesus, right? That's who I had learned about. That's who I would call, and boom, I'd wake up, right? Something would be holding me, sometimes choking me, and I'll be like, in the name of Jesus or something, and boom, I'd wake up instantly, and I'll be like, what the hell was that? Like I feel it, and that happened throughout my life. And after my brother passed away, I called out to him, I yelled out his name, and boom, I was able to come out of that, right? So, I experienced that, but this time, because all that stuff that had happened to me, and I was so like, I just I surrendered to the whole spiritual walk. I saw this feminine figure literally. Who knows? Maybe someone watching this sent me that stuff, right? Or whatever, because it has happened before and I've seen it. So I saw this being, or whether it was a succubus or whatever the female version of incubus, succubus, whatever. I literally saw this shadow figure, but I could tell it was feminine, start to straddle me in the spirit. Like I was in the spirit, but I could see everything, right? Like I could see between, like I said, even as I was asleep, I could see in both worlds. And I saw it start to straddle me, and then I was like, get the fuck out of here. And then it just poof, and I woke up and I was like, oh shoot. And then I don't know, I turned on the TV. I was like, I kind of needed a moment, but I was kind of like, oh wow, like that, wow. Like I didn't even have to call out to anybody. Like I literally just told this spirit, like, get the fuck out of here. Like I wasn't playing no more, I was like, so man, all this stuff, like all these bad things happening pushed me to that level where it's like yeah, and I could keep, man, I just remembered another story. Like I'm telling you, see, now they're coming back to me, like so many things happen. I'm gonna end it there though. How many sometimes I see people don't even watch this stuff, right? Just like with music, right? Like you know, like I don't know, sometimes, right, I get down because these musics have so much messages in them, I guess. Just life stories, right? It's really just, it's almost like the Bible, right? That's why the last book I called it my book of songs. It's just like the way the Bible is telling all these lessons. I'm telling lessons from my experience in life, right? That I want to leave to people. I don't want people to go through the same pain I did. Like I'm trying to warn people, like, don't go through this pain, right? So that's what, and yeah, sometimes I cuss a lot, but I have just as many songs probably that don't cuss, right? But and I even these, I just the other day it entered my head, you know what? I'm gonna make clean version. I'm just gonna consolidate it onto one album, put When We Die Part 1 and 2 together and make a clean version, right? I was already thinking about that. So I'm gonna do that. Like, if I'm not hearing back from these jobs I've been applying for, like I said, like because we've been on strike and we keep getting notifications, oh, the negotiations, this and that. I don't know how long it's gonna take. Rumor was that one of these, like the people at the top, right, the execs or whatever, that they literally said, oh, we'll wait it out. like at the beginning, like there was literally a source that said that they were like, oh, we'll starve them out, like, and that's, it shows you, like, people don't realize they hadn't, it's not just the actors, like there was even this catering company that had been around for like over 20 years or something, and they went out of business, right? Imagine all the people they were feeding with their catering service. There's other people that provide food on set that have work that, you know, have lost their way of making a living. There's there's I think for the most part, actors are pretty resourceful because while you're working all these jobs, like you always got to have a couple side hustles, right? You got, or you learn to manage your money because you know it's not a for sure thing. It's like I have friends that do construction. Boom, there's a period where everything's good, and then it slows down sometimes for months, and they have to survive off little gigs here and there. So that's how it is too. Like in the acting world, like you learn to be very resourceful, I guess, you know. So anyways, um damn, I forgot what I was saying. But anyways, yeah, I guess damn, what was I saying? Talking about. See, I go off into all these side stories and I don't even know. But but yeah, during this whole time, I don't know. I'm not even gonna try to remember. I'm gonna end it there. Thank you all for watching. You know, I'm gonna have more videos coming. Hopefully, but if not, you know, I'll just share my little, we'll make it kind of like this, like a vlog style, right? Like you know, I'll number this as a podcast, right? This will be episode 56 then. So thank you to everybody that has watched. Oh yeah, like the music, that's what I'll say. Oh my god. Like the music. Like sometimes I'm like, people aren't listening to it, but like I got a notification the other day. It was like, oh, in on Spotify alone, like in the month of October, it said, oh, you had 188 listeners. So I was like, wow, 188 different people were listening to my music on Spotify, right? So I was like, damn, here I am promoting all this stuff on YouTube, and you know, it's kind of like when you don't see numbers increasing there, or people putting like or this and that, it's like, well, that sucks, you know. But then when I got that, right, like, oh, 188 different people. So maybe in other countries, right? Because before, back when people would download songs, I saw that I had sold in 12 different countries, right? So I've always been proud of that. I've always known that the music, you know, wasn't all in my head. It wasn't like, you know, it didn't suck or nothing. People in 12 different countries are buying your music because no one making them buy it. That's different than streaming, right? People were actually buying it in over 12 countries. So, or 12 countries that I counted, I remember. So you know what I mean? So with the streaming, it's cool. 188 different. I'm sure if I go maybe into the Spotify, maybe it'll even show me what countries or where. But 188. Listen, I was like, wow, that's and it said it increased like over 20%, 20 something percent. That means that so people had been listening. So if it went up 20%, that means over 100 something people were listening to it. I guess just from September even, right? So maybe when I dropped the Serendipity album and all that, dropped it in August, and it was consistent, I guess, maybe through September. So I guess people are listening to music. It's just when I would see the YouTube numbers, that would kind of make me feel like, whatever. Regardless, it was very healing for me. I know it had its reason, right, for me making these songs. So it is what it is. Like I'll just take it as a win regardless, because it was super mental health for me times 100, right? Like I was like so grateful that I was able to vent through the music, because like I said, not everyone has that. And then you see all these people that I wish you know, I could tell people like, hey, do music, go work out, do something when you're about to lose your mind, right? Like do something that helps you get through that. Because you know, like, you know, I even made that. I'm like so proud of my little you know, it's 22 albums. Well, at that point now, I guess you could say if you count both it's 24 albums. But even that, let me just say that and then I'll end it for reals. Like when I got that, right, on there is exactly 36. I had 36 releases, right? And it was funny because 6 times 6 is 36, right? And then when I bought that, when I got the thing and I had it at home, it said 66 centimeters. So 6 centimeters, 6 times 6 is 36. That's how many releases I had when I made that. And my brother's birthday was 6/6, right? So I felt like my brother was telling me, like after I put that up, it was like it's not like someone like, oh look, I'm it's like an accomplishment, something to be proud of, right? Like he was showing me like, hell yeah, be proud of yourself. Like, dude, 36 freaking releases, and it was all encoded like with him, right? Like 6 times 6 is 36. The thing happened to be 66 centimeters across. And then I was like, oh shoot, 6/6, you know, my brother, of course, right? Like that was his birthday. So it was like he wanted me to be proud of myself, right? Like it was like his way. And it was funny because I remember, you know, in the Marines there was this gunnery sergeant that, you know, I remember I walked in his office because I'm sure I was in trouble for something. And you know, he had his whole wall, and he's all, you know why I do that? He's all like, and he said that to let people know, like when people look at you, like, you know, maybe when they talk, like they think like, you know, the people are that, like, you know, but that was in a human sense, right? In the spiritual stuff, like you really don't care about that stuff. But just in the human sense, like he was showing how like he always had that, right? So when people understood all his accomplishments, like don't think you're just like over here talking to me like if I haven't experienced life or been doing all these things, right? So he purposely would put, so when you walk in his office, right behind him is all his stuff. And I had never done that, right? All the things like certificates or different things. I've never done that, right? I've never done. I mean, I had the podcast thing, but it wasn't like that. To me, that is like you know, if I could get a tattoo, I would. Nah, that'd be a weird tattoo, but it was just like, yeah, man. Like when I look at it, I'm like, damn, I really released all that. Like, you know, like been a busy bee, right? Like that's crazy. Like that's a lot of stuff. So I did that for me, and I was guided by my brother because the thought just entered my head. Oh, frame that up, right? Like, you know, and I was like, all right. And then by the time when I did it, I realized like, so it must have been him telling me that, right? Because like that, like I just heard it, like, and I did it. I ordered the poster, and then I found the frame for it, you know, by luck, because I think the frame for this In a Good Way podcast one caused me a lot because they had a special make it, and then by luck the other one had a frame that fit, so I was happy. And that's it. I'll end it there. Hope you guys are well. Man, that was so long. I don't know if anybody will watch the whole thing, but if you do, thank you for sticking through and listening to this story. You know, always feel free to leave comments about what videos you want me to talk about, right? Like I said, I experienced so many things. And going forward, right, I feel like I'm in a state of constant warfare now with you know, with the remaining of my time up to while I'm here. Like it's not right, right? Especially in the spiritual community, for people to be doing dirty stuff in the spiritual community, it ain't cool. So thank you again. I'm out of here. And you know, if you stay this long, I appreciate you wholeheartedly, and I hope you go great into 2024, which is still a wave, you know. And that's it. Peace.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, sometimes you just feeling it, you know what I'm saying? You just feeling it. And I want to feel this way forever.